Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen and I'm here with a lovely patient of ours, Carolyn, who's given us permission to talk to you today about some of the experiences that she's had in our office so far. So can you tell us a little bit of what you were dealing with your health issues before you started here?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I was dealing with extreme cramping of my body, severe pain throughout my whole body, especially my legs, burning in my knees, and I could barely walk when I came into this office.
Absolutely, I remember seeing you. And
it was terrible. I was in bed most days.
And that's one of the things you said to us, is that if you didn't do something quickly, you were on a negative decline.
Well, you asked me on your extensive questionnaire where I thought I would be in 3 years, and I said bedridden.
Right. And so what were the doctors doing for you before you came here?
Nothing. They didn't know what to do. They looked at my blood work and said my blood work was all over the place. They didn't know what was causing my pain. They did not know what to do for me. So I came to you.
Came to me. Okay, and then so how did you first find out about our office?
Well, I found out about you through a friend, and I watched your video online, and then I called the office and talked to your wonderful David, and he shot me the link to, I thought I had some autoimmune problems, and so I asked for the autoimmune video, and I watched that, and I was almost sure that that was my problem. And then I called and made an appointment and came in, filled out the questionnaire, and came in and talked to you, and you agreed, and we went from there.
We went from there, and that's what we do. We make sure that patients watch our videos before, because it gives you a lot of information as to what your condition may be, other ways to think about it, and if it makes sense to you, that the approach that we take, then you take that next step and come on in, and we go over your findings and what you're dealing with. And some of the important things that we talk about are your history and some of the feelings that you've been feeling. And so you started with us.
Yes.
And
you know immediately. I mean, you know, when you watch that video and come in and talk to you, you just kind of know it applies to you.
Exactly.
You know it applies
well,
to you.
the difference is...
And that's the exciting part about it. You go, gosh, finally someone understands what's going on with me.
Well, I mean, I wish I had more patients like you, because even though they feel that way, they don't necessarily make that next step happen. And that next step happen is to have the faith that you're making the right decision and that this is going to change your life, because you're at the point where you did see in 3 years from now, you're going to, if you don't do something about it, that you're potentially going to be bedridden, then you have to make that. Knowing the information and not doing anything about it is like not knowing the information. So,
well, but how could you not do something about it? Because it's either that or being bedridden when there's no other choice. I had doctors that wanted to give me steroids. But that was just a Band-Aid. I knew that. What I liked about your approach was you wanted to get to the cause of the problem, and I'm a very bottom line person, and I wanted to know what was causing all of these problems, and that was your approach.
And so here we are, about 7 weeks later.
7 weeks later.
7 weeks later. And so tell us a little bit about what you've experienced so far.
I'm totally pain-free. I've lost about 10 pounds. When I came in, I was very foggy-brained. I could not read a book. I can read a book now. I'm very clear-headed, lots of energy. As a matter of fact, I drive people crazy now with my energy. And but it just totally pain-free.
That's great.
And following your protocol was so easy. It was just, at first I thought it would be daunting. It seemed like it would, to follow a certain eating protocol for 6 weeks. I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to take everything away from me. But you take a lot of things away, but there's so much you can have. And you broke it down week by week by week by week, that when the 6 weeks was over, I was like, that went by so quickly, I can't believe it. And I'm totally pain-free.
And it wasn't even by the end of the 6 weeks that you had been starting to feel better.
I would say at 2.5 to 3 weeks I was pain-free.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an important point too. Is that you mentioned that we did it step by step, and you needed to know the bottom line as to what was going on. And so, just to be a little more specific with you, we did find out in one of the tests that we did the extent of the permeability in the gut.
Right.
And so that made sense to you in why you needed to go through this detox and this repair protocol, because it was as plain as day, where the other doctors weren't able to tell you anything about what was going on, nor do they even hear of some of these things like leaky gut and intestinal permeability. We told you, and you saw, and that made it that much important to follow those instructions and make sure you do those things.
Well, yes, and you explained it to me.
Right.
I mean, you showed me a picture and explained exactly what a leaky gut was.
Right.
Made a lot of sense.
Right.
And I've been shown or told other doctors about the leaky gut.
Right.
Or the technical name,
The
I don't know what it is.
Yep.
And they've never even heard of it.
Never even heard of it. Yeah.
They've never even heard of it.
Right.
And I saw what it did to me.
Right.
It crippled me.
Yeah.
And a lot of them just blow it off.
Yeah. So now you're doing great.
Now I'm doing great.
What would you say to someone who may be skeptical in functional medicine or a metabolic protocol or something that's a bit outside the box and does at the end of the day require some investment on your part because insurance will pay very little? So what would you say to someone who is on the fence, can see and identify with what you're saying, and in a couple of months, if they don't do anything, they're going to be bedridden? What would you tell them, given that what you've experienced?
Well, I would say weigh your options. I mean, do you want to be bedridden, or is it worth the few dollars that it costs to do it? I mean, it's not a few dollars, but it's worth it because
Right.
you get well.
Right.
Your symptoms go away. You're a healthier person. You're not going to what I call white coat doctors and getting Band-Aids and more prescriptions
Right.
on top of prescription on top of prescription, which to me exacerbates the problem.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. Why not go to the problem, fix the problem,
Right.
and get it taken care of?
Right.
It's worth the money to get the problem taken care of,
Right.
and then this is a lifetime change. This goes on forever,
Right.
and the problem doesn't come back.
Right. It's a great point. And so now what do you see yourself doing now that you have all this energy and now that you're feeling better that you may not have been able to do before you started?
Well, I feel like I'm 50 years old again. I feel alive, healthy,
Right.
and I'm excited to continue this lifestyle.
Right.
I would not even think of eating something that I know I have an intolerance to.
Right.
Because I remember that lifestyle.
Well, let's speak about that, because you did have a little bit of a slip up.
Oh, I did have a little bit of a slip up.
And you noticed right away the effect it had on you.
Yes, it was an inadvertent slip up. I bought some kebabs at the fresh market that had teriyaki sauce on it.
Right.
Not thinking anything about it, thinking
Right.
I'm just having good organic meat.
Right.
And by midnight, I was crippled again.
Right.
And I could not figure out what I had done wrong because I had not cheated,
Right.
but I didn't think about the sauce.
Right.
And it was the soy sauce, and I think the MSG and the
Right.
soy sauce you guys said
Right. Yeah. And so
triggered me.
Right.
By midnight, I was back in that same pain.
Right. And so you knew if you were to fall off or get back into those the situations of the foods that you're eating, it can throw you back, and it's not worth it.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
It's
So-
not. It's not worth it.
Right.
It's not worth even cheating one little bit
Right.
on your diet because just that one misstep.
Right.
I mean, I never thought of cheating because why cheat? If you're going to do the program, do the program.
Right.
But that one misstep, if you ever think of cheating, don't do it because then you just start over again.
Well, the reality is it's tough to completely change your lifestyle from one to the next in the flip of a switch. But when you have that glimmer of hope and that clarity and the lack of pain that you've been dealing with for so long, then it's worth making those. It's not even a sacrifice. It's worth making those changes in your life.
Yes, but it really wasn't that hard.
Right. And at the end of the day,
it really wasn't
hard.
that hard.
Right.
And you guys made it so easy and so comfortable. And I have to say, I never came in for a treatment that you didn't check in with me and see how I was doing, make sure I was okay, answer any question, and you know how many questions I asked.
Good. Right.
So you made it very, very easy, and the eating protocol was not that hard.
The only thing I really wish we would have done differently, if we were to have done anything different, was just get your before interview, because we could have seen that transformation physically. You know, you can see physically you're a different person. You have a different glow about you. You're not fading away. And that's some of the words that people have used for you.
That's exactly what my friends were saying. Carolyn, we're losing you.
Right.
You're fading away.
Right. Well, we're really happy that we did this. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You're so welcome.
And
you and your staff are just exemplary.
They're great.
Just exemplary.
Yeah, well, we thank you so much. And if you're looking for a solution to your chronic problem, please come and check us out as well. Thank you so much.